All right, well, we finally got to see the movie that everyone's talking about. This movie is going to go down in history. People are going to talk about this because this is a movie that caused terrorist threats. So we saw the interview, and we could definitely understand why this caused a little upset from the people of North Korea. And, here's what I'll say. The movie is unapologetically brutal. It is offensive. It is sleazy. It's a lot of fart jokes, poop jokes, erection jokes, sex jokes.
So it's Seth Rogen.
Yes. And it is very politically offensive for what's been going on right now with the tensions between us and North Korea. And the movie is extremely hilarious. I loved this movie.
I love it too.
This movie just did it right. I don't know. We'll go into it, but this is a movie that's very sleazy and very brutal and offensive, but it knows what it's doing, it knows how to do it, and it's clever at it. And it's actually, just in general, I think, a pretty well-made film, too. This wasn't, even though it's a lot of fart humor, it's not cheaply written, and it's not cheaply made. There was a lot of effort and thought put into this film, and I think it shows. I actually liked this film a lot.
I was surprised how much I liked it.
I thought it was going to be total crap,
and
I liked it,
The movie, it's very, especially in the beginning, it's very fast-paced, but I think it actually worked because everyone by this point knows what this movie is and knows what the premise is, so there's not much use in spending too much time in the beginning building up to the premise because we already know it's coming. But, aside from that, the movie is able to, have the first act be fast-paced and do it well without rushing it because it's still driving the plot well. It's still giving you enough time to digest it. And more important than that, these characters are very charismatic, especially James Franco. And the movie wastes no time expressing that. If you took a movie like this with kind of a complex and offensive premise, and you just introduced us to these main characters and they had no personalities, and then jumped us into this "we want you to kill the leader of North Korea" plot, it may not work very well, but within a very short amount of time, and I think a lot of this is due to the fantastic performances of Franco and Rogen, they were able to pull that off very quickly. So the movie is very fast-paced, at least the first act is, but it's done well, if that makes sense. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? They wasted almost no time going into it.
No, which worked for this movie.
Yeah, like I said, if it wasn't done right, that could be a problem. It could be rushed, but I don't think they rushed it. I think they did it. I think they drove the plot just right, which brings me to another thing. One of the biggest things that someone should know, one of the biggest I don't know if I should say rules, but elements of what makes a good movie when you're writing a movie is every scene in the movie needs to count. Every scene needs to drive the plot somehow. You shouldn't just have a pointless scene. And one of the biggest genres, if not the biggest genre, that struggles with this are comedies. Because comedy films, a lot of people will say, I have a great idea for this funny thing. Where will we put that in the film? It doesn't matter, just put it in there. And so a lot of bad comedies will get sidetracked from the plot and just have this pointless, goofy scene. And it's not that the joke in that scene is bad, but sometimes as a viewer, it won't come off very funny if it has nothing to do with what's going on. And so even though it could have been funny, it won't be very funny in many cases. Not necessarily all, but in many. That's why it's important to stay focused on what's going on in the story. This movie, for the most part, I am going to point a couple ones. For the most part, this movie does not actually struggle with that very much. As goofy as the film is, as stupid as the movie can be, this movie actually drives the plot forward quite a bit. And again, I think that helps because it's so fast-paced. But the movie, even though there's a lot of gags, there's a lot of goofy moments, there's a lot of fart jokes, just about every scene is driving the characters and driving the plot forward. Which, for me at least, that works. Like for me, I mean, you just don't see that much in comedies nowadays, especially goofy comedies, because like I said before, a lot of cheap Adam Sandler comedies or something like that, they're just so poorly made and there's just no direction to it. This movie has a direction and it does it well. And yes, a lot of the humor is juvenile, but it's still presented in a really funny way because A, like I just said, it's done well, and B, like I also said, Franco and Rogen just do such a good job selling the comedy in this film. And the guy that plays Kim Jong-un is fantastic. Like, this guy is hilarious, and I kind of like in the beginning, they very much portray Kim Jong-un, and it is offensive, of course, but they portray him very much just as, like, a kid, like, as which he is. He's too young to be where he is, politically, but they portray that kind of in a human way, that he wants to have fun, he doesn't, and he's saying, I've been always misinterpreted by everybody, and blah, 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 and then as the movie goes on, you start to actually see the dark, crazy side of him. But I kind of like that in the beginning, and the actor did a really good job playing that. Because when he's goofy, he's really funny. And watching Kim Jong-un and James Franco play basketball and drive a tank out in the middle of nowhere is hilarious. But when the actor that plays Kim Jong-un, when he's actually being serious and he's going into this monologue about how he will nuke America and stuff, it's actually done really well. It's very intimidating. Yeah. So he did a fantastic job. And that's also why, despite a lot of the humor being campy and juvenile, it still works because the people that play these characters just do a really good job selling it. They're not sleepwalking through this film. I mean, does anyone have any thoughts on that?
I think the supporting cast was fantastic for this. A lot of the jokes you're talking about are pretty infantile, but there are several jokes in there that are just spot on to the political situation. And when those pop out, I mean, we were hooting and hollering so much we couldn't hear what was going on and had to rewind and start back again. So I think the whole cast is well rounded.
Absolutely. There's a lot of memorable quotes, which
none of which we can say.
we won't. But this is the kind of movie that people like us, or even more specifically like high schoolers, they're going to see this movie. Then when they go to class, they're going to be quoting it constantly. Like, this is a very quotable film. There's a lot of moments where I feel like when people see this film and talk about it, they're like, dude, I love that one scene when they did this or when this happened, because there's just a lot of creatively humorous scenes. And again, they, for the most part, almost all of them are in context with what's going on, which is why it works so well. The music was great. Oh, the soundtrack. They had a really good soundtrack, really diverse soundtrack. Songs too. And I'm sure Katy Perry is proud. I would be. She's performing at the Super Bowl this year.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is a lot of CGI in this film, but for the most part, I thought the cinematography was beautiful. There's a lot of big shots of North Korea, and it actually looks really good.
Well, a place that looks like North Korea. I'm assuming they didn't
course.
really film this there.
Hey, you never know.
I'm gonna go with no.
But
really violent film.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. This movie is so unapologetic in how bloody it is. And that's going to turn a lot of viewers off. But if you're like us, and if you love dark humor, you love violent humor, you love bloody humor, this is going to be a fun watch for you. The action starts to come in towards the end, and it's really entertaining. And again, there's a lot of CGI, but there are, like you said, there's quite a few practical effects, especially when there's some shooting that happens, and it's just blood splats everywhere.
I wasn't expecting that.
It was.
I don't mind,
really
but
funny.
I wasn't expecting it either. Woohoo!
That first time that there was a thing like that,
Mm-hmm.
when they were in the room with the kids playing on guitar, that was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, what just happened?
It escalated
Like that
very
just
quickly.
came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Oh
it was
man.
pretty great.
honestly, I think the less we talk about this film, the better, because I don't want to give anything much away. I mean, this is such a hyped up film right now. I don't want to like ruin it for anybody that wants to go see it or is curious.
It's worth the hype.
Yeah, look, it's only cost a few bucks on YouTube and other places that's showing it.
Yeah.
Watch it, and if you don't like this kind of comedy, just watch it despite North Korea. I mean,
Show those comments.
That's why they're gonna make so much freaking money off this.
I
yeah.
wonder if this is going to come out on DVD.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, it will.
Yeah.
It will.
Really?
I can't imagine
The extended Blu-ray.
the idea of them threatening to like nuke any stores. I mean, I'm not saying they won't do that, but I feel like they would. They would have to. And at the very least, again, they could just release it more.
Well, and their other threats have been proven invalid. They didn't attack those movie theaters that decided to show it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I
there's
mean,
It's still full
exactly.
a lot of places, though. But
So I am interested. You know, when Rambo 4, the last Rambo film, came out, I mean, it's about the Civil War in Burma. Needless to say, the Burmese government did not like that film, so they banned it. But Burmese pirates, the rebels, that's not pirates, I'm sorry, Burmese rebels, they got a bunch of bootlegs of the film, and they loved it, to death, of course, and they actually took some of Rambo's dialogue in that film and used it as actual like battle chants before going into battle.
That's awesome.
The two big lines Rambo has in that film is, "When you're pushed, killing is just as easy as breathing." And then at one point he's giving a speech to some mercenaries to convince them to help him out, and he says, "Live for nothing or die for something." And that became like a big chant, and Stallone was of course honored. And that makes me wonder, thinking about that, it's like, are North Koreans going to somehow get to watch this? Are they going to get a leak somehow of
No.
this? I mean, or
I
some
doubt it.
kind of bootleg? I mean, I know North Korea is way more closed than Burma, but I mean, I don't know. Like, and if they did, what would they think? I mean,
that country's too paralyzed with fear to do anything.
This movie.
Well, I
does
mean,
bring that to
nothing
life.
happened when Team America came out.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be the same thing, you know?
Yeah, Kim Jong-il, I think, actually did watch it. Because, like I said, Kim Jong-il, when we were talking earlier, he was a big fan of American cinema. And needless to say, he was very, very upset when that movie came out. But I do wonder if Kim Jong-un would ever actually consider watching the film. Probably not. Or at least he probably wouldn't watch all of it. He'd probably get to it.
You'd
Yeah.
watch it, get pissed, and
Yeah,
go
turn
make
it.
some threats.
Yeah.
Go make some threats and launch some failed nukes.
Which, that reminds me, the opening scene to this film is so brilliantly disturbing.
Yeah.
It's
The one with the
basically,
little girl saying,
yeah, it literally opens
Yeah.
with North Korea propaganda, and it's done so like
Realistically.
100% true.
It's scary how realistic it was, and it kind of just, even though this is a very raunchy, goofy comedy, it still does a good job setting the tone for the rest of the film.
It's a raunchy, goofy comedy, but it has truthful political
Yeah.
background statements.
That's why the film works so well. Is because even though it's dumb humor, it's not a dumb movie.
Mhm.
Like, if that makes sense, it's still done in a clever way. There's a lot of satire that could
like
be.
it's a lot of
through
stuff
this.
that's like, you know, makes you think, huh, you know, that's kind of true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's really all there is. I'd recommend it. Y'all recommend it too? I mean,
Yeah.
I hate Seth Rogen, but I would definitely watch this movie again.
I like Seth Rogen.
I know you do. I just haven't been.
I don't love Seth Rogen. But I don't like it. I think he was good in this too, performance.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. He's pretty good.
Okay. I guess I'd rate it a B. I had a really good time with this. There's a lot of good laughs. I can't imagine
Would you rent it or you buy it?
Probably rent it. I would watch it more than once, but I can't see myself owning it to the point where I'd be watching it over and over again and showing everybody this movie over and over again. But but I mean, it was definitely a fun watch.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
All right, well, that's our review of The Interview. So if you're watching this on YouTube, just click the YouTube home and click Watch the Interview. So thanks for watching.